in high school tell me one time. So this was after I tore my ACL in high school, and I was on the baseball team. I think I've told a lot of you this. My family has a vast array of head coaching experience in more of our immediate family. Grandfather was a head coach. Uncle was a head coach at the same high school for a long time. I tore my ACL in high school, and I'll never forget this. It was a state playoff game. I think it was the third round, quarterfinals, whatever it was. And I'm just going to the game. I'm not playing, but I wanted to support the team. I went to every single game, even though when I was injured, whatever. And I had on a blue polo. And I walked up to the game, and one of the coaches, the assistant coaches, he told me, he's like, man, why are you wearing the colors of the other team? I was like, man, I didn't know the other team was red, white, and blue. And I was wearing a blue polo. And he's like, well, wear purple. And I'm like, look, man, I was in serious pain coming up here to watch the team play, and you're going to already talking shit to me when you should be focused on the game. And I think about that story and remember that story because I remember telling that assistant baseball coach, I was like, well, listen, man, in 10, 15 years, you're going to be coaching or you're going to be selling real estate. And nevertheless, he's not even a coach anymore. And I say that because I'm wearing a sissy blue shirt right now. And Ed Orgeron should be proud because I am wearing a sissy blue shirt. Now, I love the color blue. It makes your boy's Italian brown eyes stand out and pop with his great olive skin. Nevertheless, I love me some baby blue. Here we go. It's not because I'm supporting UCLA, though. It's just that I love blue. Nevertheless, we are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Blake Rufino. This is Are You Serious Sports? Hope all of you are making a good one. We know that we are as well. So here's something interesting. You and I rarely, and I mean rarely, this is actually the second time that me and you have actually talked about some things that Brian Kelly has said in his time when he has joined the SEC Teleconference. So we joined the SEC Teleconference today, and I thought that there was three key things that Brian Kelly mentioned about his team. He talked about offense. We're going to talk about that. He talked about the SEC coming back with the rulings on the block punt. I might go on a little bit of a rant on that about, like, a lot of us talk about how bad officiating is. Well, officiating is not going to get any better when the SEC, as an example, doesn't back their head coaches but backs the referees and doesn't change anything. Brian Kelly alluded to the block punt should have been a penalty and should not have been a block punt. We'll talk about that today, too. And something that was really interesting, Wilson Alexander of The Advocate asked Emory was asked a question about Emory Jones and moving him into guard, and Brian Kelly gave a really elaborate answer as to why they haven't moved him in there yet and challenged some younger players along his offensive line, which may spark into LSU maybe shaking some things up there. So we'll talk about that as well. As we do on every either Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on what's going out through the week, we're going to get to our do's or don'ts. 5 things that I want to see LSU do this week and 2 or 3 things that I don't want to see LSU do this week. We'll break that down as well, and then I'll give you my week 4 picks. Your boy's 22-8. I tell you this all the time, man. We make money here. I'm not going to do a parlay. I'm not going to do the point spread because that is how Vegas gets you. Pick the games that you know that there's a high probability that you're going to win, and you're going to make money. That's what we do all the time. We'll give you those picks here tonight as well. So jam-packed show, very, very much so. Let's get to a couple of these comments. Rob Boudreaux says, Blake, I figured out how Brian Kelly can win over the locker room. Get high. Oh, Lord, this is starting out great. When he gets high, does he take some Delta 9 gummies or does he smoke a whole blunt? He says, and then get high and then go talk to the team. If you listen to Dave Portnoy, he sounds like your boy from Hold the Mayo with a high Boston accent, sounds NOLA. Look, man, here's the thing. All right. I've said this about Barstool before. Somebody that does this every single week like I do, I have great appreciation for a guy like Dave Portnoy to build the company that he has. I think they've done really good. He's made some really good decisions in his company. He's done some really good things. But, like, there have been multiple times that Portnoy has targeted LSU specifically, whether targeting a player like Angel Reese, which really pisses me off calling her classless and a piece of shit. Or that when he bets against LSU, he just talks all kinds of crazy things. And see, here's the thing. There's a strong possibility that he's going to come when LSU takes on Ole Miss, and people are going to be out there supporting him, and it is what it is, good for them. But it's not missed upon me when people outside of this place talk shit and we just, oh, we're coming in. You know, like we pandered so much to the national media that we forget about our own. It's funny how that works. Look, Barstool, it is what it is. They're a great company. Barstool Mincy's been on the show multiple times. Love what Mincy does. I love Mincy's show. I tune in every once in a while when he posts some clips on Twitter. But like he had a really good Cooper Manning one. I thought was really good. Good for Mincy. But Barstool in general, I'm not a massive fan of. Not a massive fan of at all. Rob also says, I don't mind blue. I just don't like red and crimson. You'll never see me in red and crimson. The only time that I wore red was the girl that I was dating in college loved when I wore red. And I wore a red polo out one night to a bar. What was that bar in Hammond? Was it the Brown Door? Maybe I think it was the Brown Door. So we went out to the Brown Door. She loved it. I mean, she picked a shirt. I wore it. And I'm just going to tell you, fellas, if your lady wants you to wear something, wear it. Because bound chicken, wow, come 12 o'clock, daddy's leaving anyway. Nothing good happens after 12 o'clock. We leaving at 12, me and you going home. That's just how it's going to be. Daddy needs his sleep. And I'll wear what you want me to wear. Shit. Jared Roach says, no red, no orange. Well, the only orange I would wear would be, if I go to a correctional facility, which I hope that never happens. I hope I'm never put in that place. Under the Old Law on YouTube says, hey, Blake, why they haven't played Kalaj Cobbins yet? Dude's a beast off the edge. Go Tigers. Well, look, here's what I'd say, Old Law, is what's happened at edge that, and especially from what Kalaj Cobbins does, that you haven't liked that this team has done already. Like, are you going to take out Savion Jones? Well, no. You're going to take out Braden Swinson, who had 3 sacks last week? No. They put Perkins out there at times in specific situations. I think Kalaj is going to redshirt, and if they play like South Alabama, maybe he'll get in at the end. If you can separate and actually you can separate against a team and you don't come out flat like you normally have done in these first 3 games. I'll say this about Kalaj. During camp, I thought he was a really good pass rusher. I thought he made some really good pass rush moves. I don't think he's ready right now. I think Gabe Rutherford's a little bit more game ready right now than he is. But I do think if there's a specific situation that you wanted to utilize his talents, you could do that. I just don't think that he's completely ready. Jeff Jones says he's in Baytown, Texas. That's in the building. Yes, indeed. Where is everybody listening from tonight? Where is everybody listening from tonight? Baytown, Texas, in the building. Bundy says, forget Barstool. Look, I'm not going to say F Barstool, forget Barstool. I just think that Portnoy, as an example, which, by the way, love his pizza reviews. He's done great with that. But I'm not – I just, like, look, man, like, for example, me and my co-host Joe, I tell you this all the time. We do a national college football show. We've been on Texas Tech. We've been on Cal. We've been on Oregon State. Like, there have been people that have clipped things that we've said good about their team and put it on ours. LSU rarely, unless it's like legacy media, will clip something of ours and then put it out there. They want national media heads. Good on them. Good on them. But sometimes I think people forget where they come from. That's how I'm going to say it. Cat Ryder is in Central Louisiana. Stand up. Love Central. Central's a good place. Rob's in Rain, the 337 in the building. Vic Nettles, what's up, man? Says Pensacola, the 850s in the building. Eric Newman's in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Zachary coming in hot with David Bogan. Anthony is in the Best Bank, not to be forgotten by the West Bank. The 504 representing, the 615, Alan Smith in Nashville. Good to have you all in here with us. Good to have you all in here with us. Joe Square says, let's go Tigers from Birmingham, Alabama. He's behind enemy lines right now. Behind enemy lines. Bundy's in Moss Point, Mississippi. You know, I have some family out there in Pascagoula. Yes, indeed. Hard-working people out there in Moss Point and Pascagoula, man. Very, very much so. Vic says, Whit Weeks needs to stay disciplined on his assignments. South Carolina killed us on the read option to the outside. Look, Vic, I agree with you. I mean, the long run that Raheem Sanders or Rocket Sanders, whatever he wants to be called, he had was a bust and contained by Whit Weeks. The second one on the inverted veer or read option inverted veer, that's on Greg Penn. I mean, Greg's got to step up. However, you were in a very I thought it was a bad play call from you defensively, and schematically it was a bad call. Here's the thing. Why South Carolina never went back to an inverted veer is beyond me. That's on them. But Sage Ryan's got to break down and make that tackle. And I like Sage. I think Sage is a great young man. I think he's a very, very good young man. At some point, he's got to learn to break down. Here's the thing, too. Listen, I will be the first one to defend you if this happens. If you break down and make a tackle, but you get run over, it doesn't bother me. Like, remember LaRon Landry when we got run over by Brandon Jacobs? Like, y'all remember that big time hit? The thing that LaRon Landry got his, my man lost a couple of brain cells when he got hit by Brandon Jacobs that night. The problem with that is that people don't care about Brandon Jacobs wind up getting tackled on that play. So if I'm a coach, if I'm breaking down this team, and if I'm a fan, get run over, but don't let him score, right? Like that breakdown, make the tackle. Here's the thing that I think that they got to do with Sage. If they're going to put Major back at safety where Jordan Allen was, move Sage to the star. Because what did Sage Ryan do when he was in that position? Well, he made 2 tackles in the running game when they ran on the outside from that position. He was in great position. He turned a screen pass that back inside, which then they did get a first down, but you got to stop because he was fundamentally sound. And then he got a strip sack. So I think that Sage is a nickel. Whether they don't, why they don't want to put him there, I don't know. You've put him everywhere else, and might as well give it a look. So those are the things, like when we talk about these things that I look at and say, just break down and make the tackle. Like, put this guy here. Like, if he's having success, why don't you think about it like this? Sage Ryan has finally moved into the nickel. He blitzes, has a strip sack, and then doesn't play there again. Why is that? Like, why is that happening? I don't know. Daniel Bentley says, Blake, I was at the game. Wiggs crashed down and didn't set the edge. 1,000%. 1,000%. That's exactly what happened. And look, does some of that come with experience? Yeah, that comes with experience. And I don't, and what's interesting, here's what I like about Whit Weeks. Go back to the second to last play of the game. They ran the same exact thing, and Whit Weeks made the tackle. He learned from his mistake. And that is what good coaches do and are able to do, is make sure that they can coach on the fly and get guys to not make the same mistakes twice. Be honest with you, won you the football game. If we're going to call a spade a spade. Anthony says, #Ask Blake, what happened to the show you used to do on Saturday morning before 11 a.m. games? Did you stop doing it? Yeah, it morphed into Ruffino and Joe show. So we had so many views on our Saturday morning show. And by the way, Saturday morning is really rough for me. By the way, I work all day Saturday because we cover national sports. We work all day Saturday. Like, literally, guys, Saturday, I start my day in preparing at 6:30, and especially, like, if LSU has a night game, like, let me give an example. When LSU played USC, we wrapped up the show around 11:30, 12 a.m., We had to do stuff behind the scenes, and I didn't go to bed until 3:30, 4 a.m. in the morning. So Saturday, I tried to let that be my peace time before we get things rolling. But it morphed in Ruffino and Joe Show. Go over there. You can sub on YouTube. All right. Let's get rolling. Ryan says, #Ask Blake, with Trey Holly's court case being pushed back to December, I'm assuming that he will not be eligible to play this season. So Trey Holly did have a court case today. It would appear from what some are throwing out there. And, you know, I put it on our forum. It would appear that Trey Holly's court case has been pushed back to December. Here's what I'm going to say about it, okay? Somebody around Baton Rouge and LSU needs to get behind Trey Holly. I think Trey Holly's being screwed around with a little bit. I think that the state, and what I mean by the state in this, meaning the prosecution, I think that the prosecution is not trying to get Trey. They're trying to get somebody in his family. And that's what I'd say. I think they're using Trey as a chess piece. And the bottom line remains is that I hope that the young man has somebody in his corner, and that, you know, look, man, I think there's flaws in the case already. Look, I was not there. I haven't read everything, so I don't know everything. Here's what I know. Okay. What I know is this, and he's got a good law firm, very, very, very good law firm, one of the top criminal defense attorneys in the country and in this state. Here's what I'd say. I have not read everything, but as somebody who's been in that world for a long time, was in that world for over a decade, here's what I'd say. The evidence is very misleading at best. You know, the victim stated that she didn't know who shot. Well, she said she knew who shot her, and then she didn't know who shot her, and then it was dark. And look, man, I don't know. I don't know. So yeah, Trip Block with a $2 super chat. What's up, buddy? Good to see that you're back home, man. He says, "Do you think that Durham is running back one now?" Do I personally think he is or should be? Yes. I think he is and should be. Here's the thing that I would say, and thank you so much, Trip, for the super chat. Here's what I'd say. Let's see him continue to do that. You know, he got a hot hand against the team. Let's see him continue. And that's going to be in our do's and don'ts, things that I want to see here tonight, Trip. So thank you so much. Yes, I do think that, me personally, yes, I think you got to continue giving the ball until he can show that he's not doing anything worth a damn. But, yeah, you got to continue to give him the ball. All right. Let's get rolling. Everybody do us a favor by hitting the like and share to all those groups if you're on Facebook, to all of those social media pages. You're watching us, listening to us on YouTube. Do us a favor, man. Just do us a favor. So many of you watch us on YouTube and don't subscribe. Like, subscribe, notification bell, wherever you listen to podcasts. Do us a favor by rating, reviewing, and subscribing. Let's talk about our good friends over at betonline.ag, our good friend Tyler Alexander over at LPT Realty, and our good friends over at J&J Exterminating. Got lots to discuss, man. It's going to be a good show. Stay with us. Guys, just click the button. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events, with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag.
He will sell your house and find you a new. Well, Tyler's the man, he's here for you. If you want to buy or sell, well, it's not too late. Dial 955-0008. Just call 955-0008. Y'all call Tyler, he'll shoot you straight.
Louisiana is unique. The food, the festivals, even the bugs. No, not mud bugs. Unwanted bugs like these. The ones you don't want crawling in your home or business. Trust the Shield from J&J Exterminating. We've been protecting Louisiana homes for over 50 years, earning the trust of our clients because we deliver what we promise. Protect your home from pests. Get the Shield from J&J Exterminating.
J&J Exterminating. Yeah.
J&J has protected Louisiana homes and businesses for over 60 years.
Call him today, make the pests go away. J&J Exterminating. Yeah.
We're back. All right. Let's get rolling. So as I started off the beginning of the show, I told you that there's only been like a handful of times that you and I have discussed things that Brian Kelly says on the SEC teleconference. Listen, so every Wednesday, the first coach that meets on this SEC teleconference where all media members that cover a team in the SEC get together and are able to ask questions. They come together on Wednesdays. There are a lot of times, like, I'm going to tell you something that I used to do all the time. I think I've told you this before. Like last year or last 2 years, really, every single time that Nick Saban would speak on the SEC teleconference, I would join in just to hear what he's got to say, man. It was always fascinating on things that he had to say. But today I thought that there were three very big pieces that Brian Kelly discussed. And these are actually in specific order of what I wanted to discuss. Wasn't specifically how the questions were asked, and you can go back and listen to it. The SEC on their website puts where you can listen to the teleconference after the coaches meet. But Brian Kelly met with the media today via the SEC teleconference, and there were some really big questions that he was asked. Steve Moulton of WZZN asked a very, very good question, and I'm glad that somebody from not around here asked this question because Brian Kelly has been asked a question about his offense and third down production a lot from our media. Guys, like at least twice every time that people meet with the media on Mondays, Brian Kelly's asked about third down and situational stuff and run game on offense. That I was glad that Steve Moulton of WZZN asked that question. So Steve asked, Coach, you've had some issues on third down, specifically third and short. What is your thoughts on how your team's done? And Brian Kelly alluded to and stated, we have to be better on third down in general. We've been actually really good on third and medium and third and long. It's the third and 1 through third and 3 that we've really struggled. Let's stop right there. Yeah, you have been. And a lot of it's had to do, so like when you're in the goal line or at the goal line, third and goal from the 1 yard line, guys, I told you this on Monday and I kind of went stupid and I shouldn't have. I lost my temper when me and Carter were discussing. Why can't you line up under center and get a yard with a quarterback sneak? I know that you want to be able to protect Garrett Nussmeier. I'm with you. If Garrett goes down, I do think that you're in a little bit of trouble. The problem with not doing it is that you can't be scared to get Garrett Nussmeier under center and push him for a yard. Like, guys, I know that Philadelphia does this really well with Jalen Hurts, the tush push. I'm not saying that you got to be phenomenal, but you got to have it in your arsenal. Like if you line up in third and goal from the 1 yard line, or actually it wasn't even the 1 yard line, guys, you were closer than the 1 yard line. You were 6 inches away and you couldn't get it. So I think Brian Kelly's right. We got to get better. And he also stated this, that we got to look at everything that we're doing schematically. Yeah, you do. You got to start throwing the football on third and 1. Now, I just mentioned Philadelphia, and they had a game on Monday night. I'm sure a lot of you watched that. They tried to throw the ball on third and 1, and Saquon Barkley dropped the football. But you're not having success at running the football on third and 1. You know what's really interesting And, I've heard Brian Kelly be mentioned to some extent by some that he's a micromanager on offense. And he's really not. I actually wish he kind of was more of a micromanager somewhat offensively. You went for 2 against Alabama in 2022 with one of the best running quarterbacks that this sport has ever seen in Jaden Daniels, and he threw the football off of play action. Like, where has that Alabama play gone? It's not left here. It shouldn't have. You got Mason Taylor, who, by the way, congratulations, yes, indeed, to Mason Taylor for breaking the all-time record in receptions at LSU for a tight end. Great for him. Great for him. Love that for him. Throwing the football on 3rd and 1. Because you know what that's going to stop? What it's going to stop is everybody lining up in the box with you. On Monday, I showed you a picture again when we were with Carter. Guys, you're 3rd and 1. 3rd and 1, and you're on your own 30-yard line. And you can't get a first down after you got a big turnover. Guys, if they have 9 guys in the box, that means that you have man-to-man coverage on the outside with no safety in the deep part of the field that can protect anything. Literally can't protect anything. There was a moment too where I thought that they started getting better at that. So let me explain. So has 3rd and 1 started getting kind of bad around LSU this year so far? Yeah, actually it has. They did something in the second half that I went back and watched today that I thought was excellent. Caden Durham got a run for 6, and it became 3rd and 1. This goes in the second half. It was the pass where Kyron Lacey was out of bounds, but the South Carolina defender jumped off sides, so you got the first down anyway. LSU went hurry up. And what LSU has been doing is subbing in personnel, different personnel on 3rd down, which has allowed the defense to come in and sub personnel too. So they're going to line up in the box because they know what you're doing. But you're able to attack, and when you put the pressure on South Carolina, they folded. See, what's interesting is South Carolina, they've been blaming, God bless them, South Carolina's been blaming the referees all week, which we're actually going to talk about what Brian Kelly said about the officiating that he sent to the SEC this week too in just a moment. Nobody had the South Carolina defender jumping off sides. No referee made him do that. But you threw the football in a really crucial situation on 3rd and 1, and it benefited you. We're about to do do's and don'ts in just a moment and things that LSU must do. If that is how your offense is going to find success on 3rd and 1, keep doing it. Don't let them defensively get set and able to schematically scheme something up against you. Go to some different signs. Give some quick, what we used to call, in our offense, a NASCAR package or Toledo package. Like, there should be a package where LSU has 10 scripted plays, right? Like your base formation, 10 scripted plays, and where you can run up to the line of scrimmage, scream NASCAR, 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 2, 2, 2, 2. 2, 2, 2, 2. And you know what plays run. When you're able to do things like that and not let them sub out on personnel, that is where you have success. It's where you've always had success. It's where you had success last year. You had success with it again this year. Stop being so predictable in things that you're doing. I talked about not throwing the ball, and talked about not being so predictable. The other thing is, man, there's something to be said about lining up in a bunch formation, even though I talk about getting out of it, lining up and running the football. Get under center. Get under center and run the football. Guys, every time LSU's gone under center this year, they have not run the football, not once. Did it twice against USC, did it 3 times, or actually 6 times against South Carolina. You tried to run the football out of it, but you went to a split T formation. We have 2 tight ends in the game. You have tight end at the end of the line of scrimmage, and then you have 3 backs that form a T. I mean, listen. You got to get a little bit tougher in the interior of that offensive line. You got to be able to line up and get a yard. And that has nothing to do with schematics. There's a fine line that if your team can't do it, go away from it, and I understand that. The other thing to that is this. You got to be able to line up and get a yard. You know, it's interesting. A lot of you were in here during the postgame show. Actually, the biggest postgame show that we've ever done outside of Brian Kelly beating Alabama in year one. The interesting part of being able to line up and get a yard that I think is very intriguing for me is that we were used to be, as a program, a very tough and physical program that couldn't open things up. Now we're an open up program that can't get a yard in crucial situations. This goes to show you how quickly things can change. But you got to just be able to line up and get a yard. And schematics or no schematics. And maybe you do need to get Caden Durham the ball, because if he has the vision to get the first down, let him go in there and get the first down. It's not all Brian Kelly mentioned on the SEC teleconference. He was also asked about why Emory Jones, who is projected to be a first-round pick and be a guard in the NFL, why he's not playing at guard right now. And I'm paraphrasing what Wilson said. It's not exactly how he asked it. But Brian Kelly's response was why they haven't moved Emory to right guard or left guard. I've been calling for Emory Jones to move to right guard or left guard. Didn't matter to me. Even if you put him at left, you put him and Will next to one another, that at least one side of your line's pretty dominant, and put Tyree Adams at right tackle. If you want to put Garrett Dellinger at right guard or Miles Frazier, doesn't bother me none. But I thought Brian Kelly gave one of the best answers. And, you know, what's interesting is that I had a difference of opinion of him, but then I really started thinking of and seeing the logic behind what Brian Kelly does. And I think the question by Wilson was so good, because we get a lot of BS when Brian Kelly gets asked questions in these media conversations. The interesting part about this one is that Brian Kelly defended keeping Emory Jones at right tackle. He said, look, man, he's one of the best pass blockers that we have. With the athleticism that he has, even though he's probably going to be a guard in the NFL, because he's so athletic and the SEC produces so many really good defensive ends, we kind of feel like we're doing ourselves a disservice to some extent by not leaving him out there. Truth is that he's not wrong there. But he did call out some of his younger players, and I'm not saying that he specifically is calling out Tyree Adams here, but Brian Kelly ended that question by saying this: if there's one of these young guys that can step up, Weston Davis, Tyree Adams, that can step up and show us that they can be a productive offensive lineman, we will put them in there. Which means to also tell me that they've had conversations about shuffling their offensive line that we all projected to be very good, myself included. It's still of my opinion that in games like UCLA, in games like South Alabama, and what you arguably should have done against Nichols, when Nichols came into Baton Rouge, I would have put Emory Jones at right guard or left guard, and I would have put Tyree Adams at right tackle. I would not have put Tyree Adams at left guard. I think we did a massive disservice to both Emory and Tyree Adams in that situation. I think that that's how your offensive line would have remained. I also think that you probably should have started Lance Hurd at right tackle last year and moved Emory Jones into guard, because Lance Hurd was good enough, and is good enough right now at Tennessee, if you're seeing, is good enough to where Jaden Daniels was going to get out of the pressures anyway, and Lance Hurd was good enough to start it for you at right tackle. Here's the problem with my difference of opinion with Brian Kelly that I have, that where I can be wrong. I think that he understands what he has in the interior, and I think that he feels like his interior of his offensive line is good enough that to where he can leave Emory out there, if that makes sense. It's not what I would want to try to do, but I'm not getting paid $10 million a year to do it either. And he's got a lot more wins than I do. Actually, he's got like 400 more wins than I do as a head coach in college football. So he probably knows a little bit more than I do. The last big question that Brian Kelly was asked, we only have him for 10 minutes, was about the punt block. So here's the thing. South Carolina fans have been out there this week moaning and groaning. Oh, my vagina hurts. Moaning and groaning all week about we lost the game because of bad officiating. Well, the SEC just admitted to blowing a call, even though they said that their guy was right. They blew a call and the blocked punt shouldn't have happened. The rules are pretty distinct. Even in a block punt, a defender can't leap a shield defender on the punt team. That is in the rules. We have found that out. People have posted that. The excuse that the SEC and Brian Kelly being on an SEC teleconference with the SEC commissioner in tow, Brian Kelly came out and called out the SEC today, which I absolutely love. Hey, man, we're going to have a difference of opinion here, but that's bullshit. You're sticking up for your referees, and you're sticking up for the guys that you hired. Let's stop right there for a moment. I don't completely disagree that there has been bad officiating across college football the first 3 weeks. Like, I actually believe that there actually has been some bad officiating in the first 3 weeks of the season. The problem with that is that a lot of people, a lot of teams, I shouldn't say people, but a lot of teams send in bad calls to their respective conferences. In this case, South Carolina and LSU both sent in calls to the SEC saying that they were bad calls. Well, South Carolina, if you listen to Shane Beamer yesterday, and LSU said all calls were by the book and by the rule. Even though they are by the rule and by the book, we as a fan of college football are constantly coming out here complaining about referees and officials and what they're doing. The worst of it is in baseball, to the football people that love college football, welcome to the party, because college baseball is the worst when it comes to all of this, when they're hiring officials and umpires and referees. Of all of it, college baseball by far is the worst. I digress there. Shout out to Jay Johnson, the national championship winning head coach. However, I think the SEC needs to be held accountable here, because if you're not going to stick up for the programs that employ you and make you all the money that you have, with the fan bases and the history and everything that they do for you, if you're not going to stick up for your own teams, then why are we sending in calls anyway? You know, like I think last year, which LSU people rightfully complained about, I think personally that the Jaden Daniels hit last year by Dallas Turner that should have been targeting wasn't ruled targeting, and then they came back to LSU and said, well, you know, look, man, it's not targeting. If you're going to allow that to happen, and then you're going to agree with the referees and officials, I got to be real with you, man. I mean, this is on the SEC. We blame the guys on the field so much. I get it. They're on the field. They're paid to be correct. The problem is that you have the conference coming out saying that there's no bad issue. And like I told you all throughout baseball season, and I'm going to repeat this here, the biggest blunder that Greg Sankey has had as a commissioner, the biggest blunder, is SEC referees and SEC umpires and officials. It's the worst thing that he's done. It's been in a massive decline the last 3 years. If any of you watch our baseball content, you know that what I'm saying is 1,000% correct. 1,000% correct. You know that is true. I'm going to be honest with you. At some point, there's got to come a situation where we sit here and say that if the conference is going to allow this and Greg Sankey is going to allow this to happen, that we got to start complaining to the SEC home office as a fan base, tagging Greg Sankey, tagging the conference, making an uproar about it. Because, guys, until you go full pitchfork, Tennessee, the way, or Texas A&M, when those two programs, remember when they were trying to hire coaches? Guys, I mean, Mark Stoops is supposed to be in Texas A&M right now, but the fan base revolted, and Mark Stoops was not the next head coach of the Texas A&M Aggies. Same happened with Greg Schiano going to Tennessee. You got to have that level of outrage to the conference to make some things like this change. I know for a fact, because there are a lot of people in the media circle that I kind of talk to on a actually everyday basis that have had unofficial sit downs with Greg Sankey. And he knows that all these things are an issue. He's just not doing anything about them. South Carolina fans, listen to me. Covering a program that's been very much more relevant than your program has been in the last 2 decades, actually in every single thing that they do. What about women's basketball? Okay, that might be a little fair, even though Kim Mulkey has the same amount of national titles as what Dawn Staley does the last 3 years. Maybe she's got one more. What's interesting here, as an LSU fan, we know more about blown calls than you do. 7 overtime Texas A&M. Actually, the game against you in the SEC tournament when Stephen Milam came up to the plate and hit a home run, and then you lost, and then you wind up firing your head coach. It's kind of as if LSU owns South Carolina. You know, we should call South Carolina Louisiana number 2. I mean, because we own everything that we do there. Better hope Clemson doesn't beat LSU to start off week 1 in 2024, because they're going to have bragging rights on you. We could do something y'all couldn't. See? Can't have that. All right. I guess last thing. Brian Kelly seemed pretty upset today in one question that he was asked. I think here's what I'm going to say. And I said this last night, and I feel like I need to leave this alone, but I'm not going to. Because I'm telling you, I think that you have the resources. I think that you have the infrastructure in place to where that you should be, at minimum, without a question, a top 10 program in the country every single year. You fired Les Miles because he wasn't, and he should have been. That's what you're inspiring to be. There are parts of me that say this in my mind on a daily basis doing this job. There are some things that I'm not going to blame Brian Kelly on, regardless of however bad it gets. Let me explain why. I think that we have, at this exact moment, taken a step back about what other teams are trying to do in an NIL space. Doesn't mean that you're far behind them, because you're not. It doesn't mean that you're not on some things at the cutting edge, like what Brian Kelly did and donated $1 million of his own money for the new facility that LSU has up at Football Ops. What I am saying is this, and I think that you really need to hear me on this. You really, really, really need to hear me on this. Brian Kelly cannot get where he needs to go in this era until he starts getting unlimited funds. There are people that are LSU fans and boosters that simply can give more and refuse to give into the NIL space. And I am just going to employ and beg. I hate, and I tell you this at least once a quarter, and we're coming to the end of this quarter. I don't know any of your financial situation, nor do I know all of your beliefs on NIL. But what I do know is that you're going to bitch, moan, and complain when LSU loses. And a lot of that right now is because there has not been enough good alignment for Brian Kelly at the current moment. Every coach in every SEC teleconference is going to be, to some extent, asked about NIL. And I'm just going to tell you, you got to look like Tennessee, where 10% of ticket sales is going to the players. You have to get cutting edge like that, putting money in players' pockets. Another thing, LSU is selling LSU Yeti cups this weekend. I have no idea if that's going to NIL, to raise funds. I don't know where it's going, nor do I care. However, what I would suggest is to get where you need to go. You got to find different ways. Here's what I also know. Louisiana is one of what they say the poorest states in the country. From an individual wealth standpoint, that actually isn't true. The state is poor because it's run poor, and it's always been run poor. The infrastructure sucks because we don't know, and we always elect people that don't know how to manage money. The problem is that you have massive, absolutely massive companies that have massive warehouses and businesses in Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Shreveport, Bossier, Bogalusa, Hammond, Lake Charles, Lafayette, Fouchon. You can do what you need to do to get Brian Kelly where he needs to be. I am not a spokesperson for LSU. I am not a spokesperson. I am not hired by their collective, even though I think that the collective needs to run ads on every Baton Rouge show. I will do it for free. But to the Austin Thomases of the world, to any of the massive boosters, aren't doing. Some of them aren't doing it and won't do it. And I will just continue to remind you that it's on us. It's unfortunate. It sucks. I get all that. But when you have Josh Heupel and Ryan Day going on press conferences bragging that they have $30 million to work with, how is that Brian Kelly's fault? Now, you can say it. He's got to go out there and raise funds, and he's got to be more proactive. Guys, he's 62 years old. And that ain't his job. Think about it like this, and I'm going to move on. We're going to get to a break and come back and do do's and don'ts. Think about it like this. It ran off the greatest coach of all time. Just something to think about, man. We can and should and listen. When every time I mention something like this, I am blasted in my DMs about how wrong I am. To all of those people, I'm not going to answer your DM. What I am going to tell you is this. I am not trying to be negative. I am trying to be real. Like in 2000 or 2020, excuse me, I know for a fact that you weren't behind in NIL things as they were formulated. You weren't. You have a player wearing number 7 right now that very much is a visual construct of what that looked like. Guys, A&M was throwing bags of cash. Brian Kelly had been here for 2 weeks and had to get Harold Perkins. Guys, how do you think those things happen? How do you think those things happen? You think Harold hadn't been thrown other bags along the way in college? Are you that naive? You really think Harold Perkins did what he did as a freshman and that he wasn't offered bags of cash? Like, you believe that? Shame on you if you do. All right. See, we got some super chats in here. Then we got to get to a break. Jackson says the $5 chat says, so is he a micromanager or is he not working as hard as his predecessors, like our friend John Talty says? Not getting – so, Jackson, here's what I'm going to say. Not micromanaging your coordinator doesn't mean that hard work isn't happening. Like, let me ask y'all a God's honest question. Let me ask you a God's honest question. What do you think Brian Kelly does all day? Look, I'm really asking you. Because if you ask some, he plays golf all day. If you ask some, I don't know what they think he does. Here's what I know. The man's in the facility every morning at 5:30, like clockwork, on time every single time. I know for an outright fact that some of those meetings that Jaden Daniels would attend when he didn't have to go to class was sitting down with BK. I know it for a fact. I'm not guessing. I'm not thinking. Want to know why Jaden Daniels, when he comes up to against LSU versus USC, he doesn't go up to it, if you notice this, doesn't go up to any other coach. Who did he go up to? Didn't go to his quarterback's coach. Who did he go to? Y'all label that man in a lot of wild ways. Not micromanaging doesn't mean that hard work's not happening. Here's what I'd say about the golf thing. At SEC Media Days, obviously with Saban being there, now being on College Game Day, he was in the media realm with all those other guys with the SEC. Kirby made a very funny joke, if you remember, saying, hey, man, before NIL, Coach Saban, every single spring around 1:30, 2 o'clock, he was at the golf course, and that's when all of us got to go and be with our wives and be with our family and do whatever we wanted to do. Because when he left the building, we had guys inside the building they would tell us when he would be coming back to the facility and that he would be going and getting a shower in his office. And he's like, we would all be flying back to the building so that Nick knew that we were there. And here's the truth. If that's happening at Bama, that's happening at LSU, but they had success in what they did. And Brian Kelly's had success. I think you want him to be in his office 24/7. It ain't going to happen. Nor should it happen. All right. Cody McGee with a $5 super chat says, what LSU needs to GM manage NIL? Well, they have that. And fundraising, they have that. I mean, that's what you brought Austin Thomas back for. I didn't mean to get on this long of a rant on that because shit, man, the show's almost over and I got a lot I need to get to. All right, let me do this. Got to get to a quick break. We're going to come right back. Do's and don'ts I want to see from LSU. We do that next. Stay with us. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag. Guys, I want to talk to you about our good friends over the Drake Williams Law Firm and Drake Title Company. Are you facing tough times due to an injury from a car accident, navigating the complexities of divorce, or purchasing a new home? At the Drake Williams Law Firm and Drake Title Company, they understand the challenges you're going through, and they are here to help. The lawyer team of Ernie Drake III, Ryan J. Williams, and Summer Vignair, along with Morgan Daniels, have the experience and proven track record to give you that peace of mind. Give them a call today at 985-386-7600. That's 985-386-7600 to schedule a free consultation at their brand new office located in historic downtown Ponchatoula. They're also doing a special, the AYS special. If you're refinancing or closing on a home in Southeast Louisiana, request the Drake Title Company to handle your closing. If you mention Blake Ruffino and AYS, you're going to receive a $400 discount on title fees. Again, give them a call at 985-386-7600. Let them know that Blake Ruffino sent you on by. Guys, you might know my good friend Carol Falls and all the great service that he provides over at State Farm. He is your good neighbor after all. But did you know State Farm has surprisingly great rates as well? Along with the great neighbor service, State Farm agent Carol Falls has surprisingly great rates for everyone inside the state of Louisiana. So call him today at 985-395-4300, 985-395-4300 for all of those surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life insurance needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, and individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to the State Farm underwriting requirement.
J&J has protected Louisiana homes and businesses for over 60 years.
Call him today, make the pests go away. J&J Exterminating. Yeah.
All right. I got to roll through this quickly. I got about 10 minutes, and then you boys got to roll. But we will do this quickly. Every single week since LSU has started in week 1, we have done a segment called Do's and Don'ts. Things that I want to see LSU do, things I don't want to see LSU do throughout the week. It's actually been pretty productive. You have really liked it. We've been posting on social media. It's been one of our higher clip videos. So we're going to continue to do it. Here's the number one thing I don't want LSU to do. Don't be passive defensively. I don't think that they will. I don't think they're going to really look over UCLA. Look, I think there's a situation where that I think a lot of people in that staff, there are people on that team that really do see the UCLA and say, hey, man, they're not a good football team. We got to go out there and take care of business, but they're not a good football team. I hope that is the same thing, not only on the field about not being passive, and not just being ho-hum and going out there, because it's going to be my number one thing I want you to do is go out there and really be aggressive. But defensively, you cannot run what you run on a regular basis. This isn't a game to figure some things out. Do that shit against South Alabama. Then do that shit during the bye week that you have after South Alabama. Let's go out there and take this legit and go beat their ass. I don't blame that game plan on Blake Baker. That is a from the top game plan. Brian Kelly didn't want to show South Carolina shizite that they haven't shown on that USC film in week 1. They didn't want to do it. However, let's go. You can be ho-hum and you can be vanilla defensively. And I'm talking about defense here. You can be vanilla defensively when you go up 28. Go up 4 scores, and then you can be a little ho-hum and vanilla. Until then, let's go out there and beat a Big Ten opponent's ass. I'm tired of this passive-aggressive shit. The more reps that you get against a live opponent, the more live reps you get against a live opponent to do what you're going to do in other big-time key matchups, and show them, because they got to prepare for everything, man. You send tons of blitzes. They got to prepare for everything. Come out there and pop them in the mouth. As the greatest movie ever created, I'm going to quote Remember the Titans, which I watch every single year to start the year. Remember the Titans. Herman, leave no doubt. Run it up. Run it up like it's a Linkin Park song. All right. There's only one other thing that I don't want to get I don't want LSU to do. I actually mentioned it on accident in number 1. Get the game in hand before you start doing some creative things. Look, again, guys, I would be stunned. I'm serious when I say this. I would be literally stunned if LSU cannot beat UCLA. I will come out here, brother, I will be throwing things. I'm serious. Look, I'm going to be real with you. I don't think UCLA is as bad as Nichols. They're not good. And even though you came out like ass cheeks against Nichols, you should be able to come out here and physically dominate from start to finish on this opponent. I think that there's going to be some things that they do to challenge you, but there shouldn't be any fears that we have here when it comes to this team. Please don't make me an ass this week. Show what you got. Let the game get out of hand a little bit before get up 2 or 3 scores and then start working on some things. Guys, they're not a good football team. They might play up for you, but they got their asses whipped against Indiana. And I'm going to tell you, if Indiana can whip that ass the way that they did, and I love me some Kurt Cignetti. He's a Paisan, man. I love him to death. I love all these great Italian coaches. We need more great Italian coaches. Make Italian coaching great again. Okay? Listen, if they can bust that ass, you better be able to bust that ass because I'm going to come out here throwing shit. Let's go do it. 5 do's. 5 things I need to see LSU do this week. Look, the last 3 games that you've had, you have come out slow offensively. You've come out really bad. Actually, ironically, you haven't been too bad defensively. You were pretty good against USC in the first half. Guys, you gave up 10 points in the first half. Like, I thought you were really, really good defensively on a lot of things that you did. Truth be told, though, every single game that you've come out in offensively, you've either gotten to the red zone and couldn't score, or you've had some 3 and outs. And the bottom line be told, or you got stopped. Bottom line be told, I want you to take the ball first in this game. I really want you to go out there and beat the ever-living shit out of them. I think you got to go out there guns blazing. At some point, you got to get out to a fast start. You can't keep playing from behind. Guys, against USC and against South Carolina, you were from behind. That's what she said. Okay? You would go in and take the lead. In one game, you couldn't finish. Also what she said. And in the other game, you could. That's also what she said. But I am tired of slow starts. And there were even times last year, I'll be real with you, Jane Daniels, it would take Jane Daniels, man, when you're in the winter and you got to go outside and start your car because you got there's frost on your windshield, and you got to go start the car and put the heater on and the defrost to get all the ice off of your car. You know exactly what I'm talking about. That's how LSU's offense works. Gonna be cold as hell to start the game. But as time goes on, they'll get a little bit hotter. Sometimes they'll be scorching. You know the exact feeling that I'm thinking right now. What I want your offense to look like this week is like what Louisiana's summer was last year during the drought. And the heat index is 114 on every single day. It's hot as dog piss outside. Okay? Start out hot. And I don't mind in this game if you cool off a little bit if you are up multiple scores. If you're up 2, 3, 4 scores. You got to come out guns blazing. Stop messing around with teams and go out there and smack somebody's ass. Number 2, I want Caden Durham to be running back number 1. Play 1, run 1. If it's Josh Williams, I actually don't mind it. I need 15 touches. Don't care how they look. I need 15 touches from Caden Durham at minimum. At minimum. If he is going to do that against South Carolina, there's a very strong possibility he can do that to UCLA. Get after that ass. Put Caden Durham out there. Look, man, True. Here comes another truth be told. I love Caleb Jackson. I think Caleb Jackson has the ability to be a really good back. However, I just think that there's something disconnected with him at the current moment. I don't know what it is. I have not even come close to giving up on Caleb Jackson. Got to give Caden Durham touches if he's going to be that hot. Number 3, keep spreading out the run game. Guys, in the second half, LSU got away from bunch formations when they're running the football. Got to get back to it. You got to get teams to get numbers out of the box. Going to be interesting this week to see how UCLA does it. They did it last week to Indiana, and then when Indiana started smacking that ass through the air, UCLA would have 5-6 guys in the box at max, and then they started running the football. Now, UCLA was able to stop the run against Indiana. All I'm saying is they like to play very aggressively. Defensively, they want to get after the quarterback. Got to spread them out if you're going to try to run the football. Actually, it wasn't 4. Actually, it wasn't 5. It was 4. Number 4 point. In the last 3 games offensively, you have gone up, or no, of the last 3 Power 4 opponents that you've played, there hasn't been one game that you have not thrown an interception. Hasn't been one game that you hadn't had a turnover. LSU needs a no-turnover game. No turnovers. 0, zilch, nada. The reason that is a big deal to me revolves around the easy point. That will more than likely lead to a very clean game by Garrett Nussmeier. I think that Garrett is a couple of missteps away in some of the decision-making that he does to being one of the more elite college quarterbacks in the game right now. So, but don't turn the football over. Don't, God forbid UCLA finds a way to stay around with you and the game's 10-10 and they've been running the football all over the place. Basically, they nickels you and you're like, bro, what is going on right now? What is going on? Why is Nichols even remotely in this game? Don't turn the football over. Play clean. Play right. Play fast. Play aggressive. And even if you throw a pick, but the interception is like you're throwing a fade route and maybe you overthrow it a little or underthrow it, but it's not a bad decision because it's in single coverage and you're trying to give your quarterback or wide receiver a chance, I don't really mind about that. But the last time, and Garrett does know this because he was here when that happened, because he was here in 21. Garrett, the last time that you and Blake Baker, which let's call it what it is, Blake Baker and Garrett Nussmeier and Corey Raymond are the only 3 coaches that remember that ass whooping we took. Now, Garrett Dellinger too. Josh Williams too. Go out there and let's put an ass whooping on these kids. These dudes, not kids, dudes. That's all I'm going to say. All right. We're going to punt on week 4 picks. We'll give you those tomorrow. Make sure that we don't have any super chats here. We do not. It's been a great show, man. Very, very good show. We'll see y'all tomorrow, man. Y'all have a good night. Peace out, Girl Scouts.